After a thrilling encounter last night, we are all set for another action-packed day of cricket as Rajasthan and Hyderabad take on one step ahead in the race to secure all-important playoff ticket. While there will be Morris on one side and ever-reliable Rashid on the other, the batting department, we will have an exciting battle between Johnny Bairstow and Joss Butler. With both sides reeling at the bottom of the table, all eyes will be on two fairly new leaders for their sides. While one is still adjusting to his new role, the other has recently been appointed to turn the tides. At the venue which produced more than 400 runs yesterday, the fans would certainly be hoping for another run fest. It's Sanju Samson versus Kane Williamson today, and the stage is set for a mouth-watering contest.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. You're watching Sports Tiger and this is the pre-match show. Very interesting encounter coming up today. It's going to be Hyderabad and Rajasthan. Yes, they might be at the bottom of the table. Yes, they might be struggling. But why does it become such an interesting game today? Because there has been a massive change in the leadership of Hyderabad. David Warner not going to be captaining this squad anymore. ये बहुत टाइम के बाद ऐसा डिसीजन किसी फ्रेंचाइज ने लिया है. 2014 में हमने देखा था हैदराबाद को जब शिखर धवन हटे थे कप्तानी से मिड सीजन एंड Darren Sammy was selected as the new leader. So we're seeing it once again after so many years. So big, bold call being taken because we might not see David Warner even in the playing 11. जो हमने काफी सालों से ऐसा देखा नहीं है कि डेविड वार्नर प्लेइंग 11 में फीचर ना करे. सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. दैट्स व्हाई द गेम इज गोइंग टू बी वर्थ वाचिंग. और ये सब डिस्कशन करने के लिए आई विल फर्स्ट कॉल अपॉन आवर इन हाउस क्रिकेट एक्सपर्ट Monty Pane sir. Hi Monty, top of the morning. How are things in UK?
Yeah, really good here. It's a little bit chilly this morning, but I think we are sort of enjoying the game yesterday. You know, Kieran Pollard, that phenomenal batting performance from him, and probably the game of the tournament. I think this week we've been really spoiled with some of the great games that we've had with the IPL. So, yes, thank you for keeping us entertained.
Yeah, thank you, Monty, for joining in the discussion once again with Sports Tiger. Yes, little bit about last night's game though, because it was such a thrilling game. You have to just share a few thoughts on that because I often talk about T20 as a format. How much it has changed over the years, Monty, and what it does to a sport like cricket. The game of power, absolute brute force that has come into play over the years, and we see it with somebody like a Pollard and most West Indians. Actually, that's the Caribbean flair that we get to see in a tournament like the IPL very often. And now you have a Caribbean Premier League as well. So we're more and more we're seeing this complete change in dynamics of the sport. What do you have any thoughts about it? Because you're a bowler. So from a bowler's perspective, where is the sport heading? I want to understand that from you.
Yeah, look, there's certain individuals where their presence on the pitch kind of puts fear in you, and it just completely takes you out of your comfort zone. You're suddenly not thinking about your processes or what do I need to execute with this ball. It's like, wow, there's Kieran Pollard there. First thing you're thinking, he's going to hit me for a big six. I mean, that's where, you got to change your thought process. You got to think, right, how do I get Kieran Pollard out? I know he's going to hit me for big sixes, but where's the best option? And the best option is always, which side of the wicket do I want him to hit me? Offside, leg side? Do I come round the wicket? Do I come over the wicket? And yesterday, Lungi Nodini, he didn't even go around the wicket. He didn't even stop to think, well, maybe let me take, a time out of each delivery. Let me go and speak to someone. Let me do this. And like I said, they kind of froze, really. Chennai Super Kings, just because of the sheer, maybe probably one of the best IPL innings we've ever seen. And so it's not going to happen very often. But when it does, you can see even the best of the best. It just, you don't know what to do. You think, wow, this is absolutely phenomenal innings. And I'm sure the Indian fans right now, and especially in India with what's happening, I hope it encourages people just to stay indoors and think, right, let's just watch the IPL. It's entertaining. It's a nice excuse to think, right, let's just stay indoors and help India through this difficult time. And best way it can be is just seeing entertaining IPL cricket.
Absolutely. And for those who missed last night's game, and if you were living under a rock, Karen Pollard scored a 50 of just 17 and went on to hit a massive 87 to take Mumbai to the second highest ever run chase of this tournament. It was the second highest run chase successfully done by Mumbai against Chennai. And it was such an exciting encounter. Such a thrilling game. I think even Alfred Hitchcock couldn't have written a better suspense story if he had to. So for those of you who missed the game, you must check it out in the highlights. But we'll move on. Aaj ki baat karenge. It's a Sunday double-header blockbuster. And the first game coming up is Sunrisers Hyderabad versus Rajasthan Royals. So we'll see what's on the show today. Coming up, we're going to discuss the probable playing 11, the players to watch out for. We'll obviously have the pitch and toss update and discuss the final playing 11 along with the fantasy guide that Sports Tiger has prepared for its audience. So you can follow that and try and win maximum number of points in today's game in your fantasy. So yes, Monty, we'll talk about today's game. But the big question, the leadership change, we spoke about it earlier. We did talk about it, that would Hyderabad be making a very bold call of removing Warner from the captaincy, and now we're seeing he's not going to be making it to the playing 11 as well. So a really, really big call being taken by Hyderabad. This is happening after 2014. Your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on this change in the leadership?
Yeah, look, I you can see even in the press conference after the interviews, David Warner just doesn't look himself as a player, and that innings, 50 odd, about 50, I think it was 57 or 55, wasn't David Warner himself. And the best judge of that is probably Tom Moody, Australian himself. He's seen Warner grow up through the years, probably thinking, here we got Kane Williamson coming in on the 17th over, whacking it all over the ground. They're like, he's in a good headspace. Let's get Kane Williamson, give him the captaincy, and maybe David Warner. I think he just looked tired, exhausted. He just looked like he was fighting within himself. And you have to make a bold call. They're bottom of the table, and hopefully a new change will allow. You always see like the teams just start. They're a bit more up for it, and changing leadership hopefully is a change of fortune for Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Monty. David Warner has been looking very exhausted, very tired. If you see him in the post-match conferences also, even the pre-match interviews that he gives, he's been looking out of sorts with his headspace, I think. And probably that's reflecting on his game. The role that David Warner plays in this squad is that of a very aggressive opener, but we haven't seen those kind of knocks from him this season at all. He's been batting at a strike rate of 90 to 100. If that's the case, that's something that any sort of Indian player sitting on the reserve bench can do as well. So then you don't really need David Warner if he's not playing that role of the aggressor at the start. And also, I think why probably his removal was necessary, because unfortunately, Hyderabad missing out the services of their experienced bowlers like Bhuvneshwar Kumar and the international bowler Natarajan. So they need somebody to come in and sort of inject some life into this bowling attack. And probably if Warner sits out, you get an opportunity to get somebody like Holder in, who can strengthen this bowling lineup that looks really vulnerable without the services of Bhuvneshwar and Natarajan. So hopefully some changes in fortune. Hopefully the sun will rise today finally. But talking about Rajasthan, their journey has been full of struggle as well. If David Warner struggled, so has Sanju Samson. He might have found his touch in the last couple of games, but if you see similar problems to that of Hyderabad, middle order, very vulnerable, not giving consistent performances. Bowling lineup also looks a bit vulnerable, only being led by somebody like Chris Morris, always under the pump, thanks to the price tag that he comes with. So what do you have to say about Rajasthan's journey as well? Because they haven't been doing too well either. So it sort of makes it an even competition in that sense.
Yeah, look, with Rajasthan, they've been a little bit unlucky with injuries of Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes. They're two key players, and it's the equivalent of, let's say, if you take Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers out of RCB, how would they cope? So it's a huge blow for Rajasthan Royals. So this year, I think the owners, the coaches, and everything got to be a little bit realistic and say, look, we've lost a couple of our key players, and when people make big decisions, be realistic about it. They make it to the playoffs. I think they'll do unbelievably well, but I think Sanju Samson's got a great opportunity. He scored 100. He needs to consistently keep performing to show that actually I can be a leader, I can score, and I can turn this team around. Now that would be I think would be one of the greatest stories during this IPL. If Rajasthan Royals can turn their performances around and somehow get on a consistent streak, and that would be awesome to see.
Absolutely. You made a very, very good point, Monty, that when your ace English contingent, it is not available anymore. The services of Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes aren't there. They've been struggling with their overseas players. I think they have now a South African, Van Dusen, who they've signed in, but probably will not make it to the playing 11 today. They've signed one more player, Coetzee, as well, but he's going to take some time to join the squad. But how difficult it can make, for the squad to, give that contest. And you gave a very good example. If the services of AB de Villiers or Virat Kohli, aren't there for Bangalore, how will they cope up with that? So in that sense, I think Rajasthan has been coping up fairly well. They have still been, giving some competition to the sides, but result hasn't been going their way. And yes, who knows? This could be the year 2008 once again, when the whole tournament has written you off and there aren't any expectations, and suddenly, you come out on top against all odds. So hopefully we see something like that from Rajasthan. Because currently, yes, sitting at the bottom of the table with lots of issues. We will have a look at the probable 11. Like we said, most likely David Warner not playing in today's game. Having a look at the squad, we'll have Rajasthan first. There's Joss Butler, Yashasvi Jaiswal, who's been looking very, very good. Sanju Samson finally has found his touch. Shivam Dube has been given so many runs now. They're trying to back him at that position. In fact, he's being promoted above David Miller. That's another big point of contention. A lot of people have been talking about it. Should Shivam Dube be coming above David Miller in the squad? Then there's Rahul Tewatia, Riyan Parag, Chris Morris, Jaydev Unadkat, Chetan Sakaria, Mustafizur Rahman. Monty, I first want to talk to you about the bowlers here. If you see Rajasthan's bowling lineup, there isn't really any go-to wicket-taking spinner. That's a strategy that we see with all franchises in this tournament. There is always that one go-to wicket-taking spinner, be it Rahul Chahar for Mumbai or be it Rashid Khan for Hyderabad. Even Delhi banks a lot on Amit Mishra. Unfortunately, he got injured, so he won't be playing. So what is this strategy? Because they do have a couple of guys sitting on the bench with the likes of Shreyas Gopal, Mayank Markande, but still they've given that responsibility to, sort of a part-timer, I would say, Rahul Tewatia. What do your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, because they have to compensate for Ben Stokes and even Jofra Archer, they can both, do that sort of good at the lower end, that middle order where they can bat well, both Ben Stokes and let's say Jofra Archer 8 or 9. It actually doesn't allow for it to play a specialist spinner. They've got to play the sort of bits and pieces cricketers. They've got to play where they can get a part-time spin from somewhere. Their major concern is to make sure the batting is strong. And they'd rather have a stronger batting lineup and play with, stronger seamers, but then have a part-time spinner. That's their strategy, because they've got to compensate for the likes of Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer. So they don't want to go that route of playing a specialist spinner. And they're trying to, win a game where in India it's difficult. You need to have one X factor or one, specialist spinner, and they're obviously not going to go that route.
Very interesting, yes, because when you don't have the services of somebody like Ben Stokes or Jofra Archer, who can also bat quite well, it gets difficult to make that call. And yes, a very interesting call taken by Rajasthan by not including a specialist spinner. And we have seen that Shreyas Gopal has actually done very well for his franchise over the years, but not getting a spot in this playing 11 yet, unless we see some changes today. Also, I want to talk about the contingent in this squad, a fairly young Indian, inexperienced lineup, you could say that. Would you want to change something up, considering the performances of Dubey or Riyan Parag as well? Would you want to change that up a little bit? Maybe give somebody like Mahipal Lomror a go? Or do you think this is how they should go ahead?
Well, the thing is that they've won that game, the previous game, and then they've done, they're trying to like sort of change their fortunes, and we've seen in the team, with Chennai Super Kings, Gaikwad, being loyal to him, giving him the games, and then eventually come good, and that's what they're hoping, And I think that at some point they'll probably make some changes, but they're going to still keep going as it is, hoping that the Indian players start sort of performing like they need to. And in this IPL, we've seen, being loyal to the players, it actually gets the players to perform and puts them under pressure. It's like, guys, we're going to keep backing you, but you got to be accountable. And eventually then they can't say that, I didn't get a fair chance. They're like, no, we give you a fair chance, but you've got to perform. And eventually you see the players do perform, and the ones who won't, then unfortunately they'll have to bring someone new in.
Yes, we've often seen that backing some of the young players can give you benefits in the long run. You saw that with Rituraj Gaikwad, and that's why probably Rajasthan has brought in Yashasvi Jaiswal. They're backing the youngster in the opening slot over a more experienced Manan Bora, and I think they are getting the results. He's been giving some decent starts. He had a good game in his previous outing. So yes, Yashasvi is one of those players that is proving to be a good opening batsman for them. Hopefully, he has a good game again today. But a lot of questions on David Miller and Shivam Dubey in that middle order. We still haven't seen them fire, not living up to their potential. Your thoughts on Dubey and Miller in that middle order?
Yeah, look, Miller is a dangerous player. I think Morris and Miller, both of them firing. You've just got to you've seen that. You can see they can win a game. They've got that potential in them to do that. Now, because who do they replace them by? In a way, it's like, well, David Miller, we'll probably end up playing you the all the tournament, because we've actually lost two of our key players, and we need you to play because I think the batting's going to get far too weak. So this could be a great opportunity for David Miller to think, right, if I can have a good IPL this year, I can really actually get a few more seasons out of the IPL. So he should grab this opportunity with both hands.
That's a really good point, Monty, that this is a very, very big opportunity for David Miller to make this opportunity count, because had Ben Stokes not been injured, he would have probably not got even a single game this season. And we know that David Miller sort of fallen out of favor with all the franchises, over the last couple of years. So yes, it's a very, very big opportunity, and I think it's time that he makes the most of it, because moving forward, maybe next year, David Miller doesn't even get another opportunity. So yes, it's going to be a big season for David Miller going forward in the absence of Ben Stokes. Some of the top picks from the squad that Sports Tiger we have chosen is Josh Butler, Sanju Samson, Chris Morris, and currently 55% we feel that there is a slight favor towards Rajasthan winning the game today. But moving to the probable 11 of Hyderabad, since we'll be seeing the franchise make a bold call of not playing David Warner today, we might see Priyam Garg with Johnny Bairstow, Kane Williamson, the new captain, Manish Pandey, Kedar Jadhav, Jason Holder might come in. That would be an interesting move. Jay Suchit, Rashid Khan, Khalil Ahmed, Sandeep Sharma, and Siddharth Kaul. I want to talk to you, Monty, about the unfortunate injuries that obviously the bowlers have faced in Hyderabad. We saw Natarajan ruled out, but he's been ruled out permanently. Bhuvneshwar Kumar might make a comeback at some point. Till then, obviously, the Indian young bowlers have to sort of do the job. And also, Jason Roy is another person who's sitting outside on the bench. He might get a go as well if they decide not to go ahead with Jason Holder. But what do you think is going to be the probable 11?
Yeah, look, I think Jason Holder, I've been asking him to come into the team at the start of the season. I quite like the way he, with his long levers at the back end, he can, strike the ball well. And he's a tall bowler. He doesn't bowl as quick as some of the other sort of fast bowlers in the IPL, but that back over length, which is a bit higher, and you may get a few wickets from it. And they need that, with the likes of Nitarajan and Bhavish Kumar not being part of the team. You can see that, that can happen. And Sandeep Sharma, he's a key component in this team because he's got one of the best records in the power play. And that's how they, Kane Williamson should look to use him, get maybe 3 overs out of him, and possibly, Jason Holder can do a role as well. So look, you're going to get injuries. That's part of the IPL, and owners and coaches, they just got to find ways of, finding their best 11.
Yes, and we've already seen that Hyderabad has won the toss and they've opted to field. We'll be seeing their playing 11 also very soon. But we saw that Manish Pandey was actually, removed from the squad for a couple of games, which was a big surprise for all of us. And when David Warner was asked why he's been dropped, he said, "I don't know. It's a call that selectors take." So, what do you have to say about that, Ponty? Like, how does that happen where your captain has no say on who's being dropped and he puts it on the selectors? What do you think it really means? Because I get a sense there's something bigger brewing inside Hyderabad. We're not getting the most out of these press releases. I think there's something big brewing when your captain goes out and says, "I don't know. It's a call that selectors took."
Yeah, look, I'm sure he's probably told to say that so then the team doesn't get too much pressure on their performances. They said, look, just say something, short and sweet. But I think, it would have been better actually if he actually dropped himself from captaincy and just said, guys, I'm not performing well. We could see it. He wasn't performing well. He wasn't the same body, the same performances that he would. The strike rate wasn't the same level. Even like I said, he looked exhausted, looked tired. He was fighting within himself. And he should have just said to Tom Moody, said, look, can you take me off the captaincy? I don't think I'm not helping the team here, and even rested himself. That would have been, I think better for him because we knew it was coming. We knew it was so obvious for all the fans that, they got to change something up because Kane Williamson was batting, probably with such freedom and such fluency that it was just like, well, why don't we make him the captain? Because David Warner is seriously fighting within himself. So it was waiting to happen. And I'm sure maybe, I don't know how honest he's been with the coaches, with his team, that, this is the place he's in. We don't know about them sort of conversations, but I think it was the right call because, you could just see that David Warner, if he's not the aggressive sort of opener, what value does he bring to the team?
Yes, and also finally Manish Pandey being backed in the middle order, and let's see if he can try and save this squad because we are seeing both the sides, Rajasthan and Hyderabad, facing some issues with the middle order, especially so much inexperience in the lower order for a side like Hyderabad, and some faith that is being shown on players like Vijay Shankar not really paying off, and Kedar Jadhav is also not having the best of outings. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether middle orders from both the squads can fire today. But we'll move on to the next segment. It's the players to watch out for. The players that we're going to watch out for in today's game: Rashid Khan, of course, the magic man, always the wicket taker in the toughest of situations. Chris Morris, who's been having a fairly good season, with the ball as well, has scored a couple of crucial runs. Manish Pandey, we've spoken about him a lot, and Yashasvi Jaiswal. As a spin bowler, Monty, really want your thoughts on someone like Rashid Khan. In a format like T20, where having an economy of even 9 is considered good, it's not considered bad. Rashid Khan comes in and consistently bowls at an economy of about 6.5 or even lesser in most games, and always takes wickets in every over almost. He's like this trump card that is always pulled out if the teams are going through any trouble, and takes big wickets, be it a Kyron Pollard or an AB de Villiers, always takes the big prize wickets. How do you, as a bowler, as a spin bowler, see somebody like Rashid Khan, what he does on the field?
Yeah, look, it's brilliant to see because he bowls it quickly. He disguises his googly really well, his leg spin really well, and he doesn't need to turn it much, just a little bit, just to beat the bat both sides, and he's a key player. So he's been brilliant, throughout the IPL and since his inclusion into the IPL with Sunrisers Hyderabad. So look, for me, if I'm an opposition team, I'm looking at 24 balls, 24 runs as a bonus, and if he's having a poor day, maybe 24 to 32, right? And that's it. We're not going to give any wickets away to this guy, and that's how you got to look to play him. But he's canny, he's clever. He knows that teams are just blocking out his 4 overs, and he finds other variations. He tempts them. He bowls it slower, and then he'll say, "Go on, hit this for a boundary," and then he go back to his match-winning ball. The way he gets them out. So he's a key player. If today, look, Sunrisers Hyderabad have won the toss, they're fielded first. His 4 overs, he needs to produce a match-winning 4 overs to give Sunrisers Hyderabad an opportunity to beat Rajasthan Royals.
Absolutely. I think, I read this interview of Gautam Gambhir long time ago when he said that Sunil Narayan, when he used to play under him, when Gautam was leading KKR, all the opposition teams used to strategize based on how we're going to not give away our wicket to Sunil Narayan and try and target everybody else. I think similarly, most franchises now sort of plan this against Rashid Khan, that, okay, how do we not throw a wicket away to Rashid Khan and we try to go after the other bowlers. So yes, that is the mindset when somebody like that is bowling to you. However, we saw something very interesting from Delhi in their previous game against Hyderabad, where they were trying to go very aggressive. And that's probably the only match I saw in which I saw the batsmen advancing down the track, trying to go big against Rashid Khan. So it was really interesting to see that some players, and especially some exciting players like Prithvi Shaw, are coming up with those strategies as well, that they want to counter-attack somebody like Rashid. So that's also very interesting to see. We have information coming in that Rajasthan's playing 11 has been announced, and some interesting inclusions. Kartik Tyagi coming back. He had a wonderful season last year. We haven't seen him in this tournament till now. So yeah, that's a great inclusion, I feel. Also, Anuj Rawat making his debut this season. So thoughts on Kartik Tyagi, maybe Monty? Last season, we saw him bowl really, really well, especially in the death for Rajasthan, but was missing this season. Finally back in place of Jaydev Unadkat. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, they obviously feel like they need to bolster their bowling lineup, with Kartik, and he and Chris Morris. Chris Morris needs to be marshalling the troops here. This is what it's about. Because sometimes I just don't see it with some of the overseas players taking that ownership, helping the youngsters during a pressure situation. All eyes will be on Chris Morris. How does he help when a new Kartik comes into the team? And if he's bowling well, great. But it's the real time when they're not doing so well. Go to him, speak to him, see see how we can help him. So that is going to be important. Communication is so important during these T20 matches. And we saw yesterday, who went to Lungi Nundingi? No one. So communication, especially the young Indian players, they'll learn so much more during a pressure situation. And Chris Morris just puts the arm around the shoulder. This is what you do. Go out there, execute it. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. A lot of support and encouragement needed from your senior players when you have young guys in your attack. Also, we spoke so much about Shivam Dube. He's been replaced too. So management not backing him, not happy with the performances that he's putting up. And he's been replaced by Anuj Rawat. So let's see what he does. But talking about Chris Morris, because he's also in our list of players to watch out for. Monty, your thoughts on the big price tag that he came with and the kind of performances that he's given. Are you happy with what Morris has been doing, especially when you're under so much pressure? You can understand that, when you make headlines after an auction and everybody's talking about you, and there's always that figure at the back of your head after every bad or a disappointing outing that you have in the tournament. So how do you see Chris Morris's journey so far in this tournament, considering the pressure he was under with the price tag?
Yeah, look, I think he's overpriced, if you ask me. He's way overpriced, but he is meeting the expectations of that price. So good on Chris Morris. And he is performing really well. He's done well with the ball. He's done well with the bat. I think now what he needs, if he can now that price tag of, Rajasthan Royals, if it's with the ball or the bat, he can get them over the line. Suddenly, they would be the owners. Everyone would be so delighted, and he's huge responsibility on him. There's going to be moments in the match where his overs or his batting display is going to be crucial to get Rajasthan Royals, because they don't have, like we said, some of the other overseas are injured. So he will, if he can have a great sort of game today, it just adds more value, and it just kind of justifies his, I think, 20% over than his price tag, but good on him.
Absolutely good on him. Sometimes the pressure does get the best out of you as well. So maybe it's getting the best out of him. More important news coming in, Monty. The playing 11 for Hyderabad has also been announced. So big call being taken. No Holder, no Jason Roy. It's Mohammad Nabi who comes in place of David Warner. So your thoughts on that? And also Abdul Samad making a comeback. He unfortunately was left out due to some niggles, and we saw so much promise from the youngster because he was hitting those big boundaries. Looked like it's going to be an exciting season for him, but missed out on a couple of games, so he's back again. That's a good sign. But your thoughts on Nabi being picked and also Samad coming in?
Yeah, look, I'm not happy with Nabi being picked. I think with Bhuvnesh Kumar and Jason Holder, that would have been a really good combination. The high arm bowlers, they have impact. They have impact here, and you just need 4 overs from Rashid Khan. That's it. You got your 16. You got 4 from Bhuvnesh Kumar, and you only need another 12. Khalid Ahmed is bowling well. You got Vijay Shankar there. They obviously want to play another spinner, but you get 4 from him. So they obviously want to go the spin route. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, loss of words. At a loss of words. Even I am, to be very honest, because we've spoken so much about the bowling being under the pump with the absence of Bhuvneshwar and Natarajan, and they needed somebody like Holder coming in, not just for his bowling but for batting as well, because we have also seen that the batsmen haven't really been delivering in the middle order. And that's where Holder can probably strengthen that lower order slightly. He can provide those important fiery knocks, something that probably we saw from Kieran Pollard last night. Holder is also capable of hitting those big boundaries in a crunch match situation where there's a high strike rate required, because that's a job that not everybody is doing, and that's a job that you can't ask Kane Williamson to do all the time. You can't put him under that pressure all the time. So yeah, some very strange selections there. But Monty, don't you think that's been the story of Hyderabad from day one? Some strange selections from day one, and hence they are at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, look, I agree. Because when you don't have Natarajan playing and Bhuvnesh Kumar on a regular basis, it does put this team it puts a lot of pressure on them. But they want to go with spin again, so. Mohammad Nabi is a good bowler. He bowls, well. It just puts a lot of pressure on them now. They've won the toss, field first, and we've seen, that the team that fields first tend to win the match. So this is in favour for Sunrisers Hyderabad now. No due. Well, it's obviously earlier match as well. If they've got no excuse now, and they've favourite is in them.
Absolutely. So, we'll have to wait and see if getting Nabi in was a good call. Yes, Bhuvneshwar back in today, so that's a good sign. But still, it's going to be a tough one with Nabi being there instead of somebody like a Holder or a Jason Roy. We'll move on to the next segment, Monty. Some of the tweets that we have picked out, the best tweets that have come from our fans, and let's see what they have to say about today's game. Varun says, will love to see an improved performance from Sunrisers. I'm sure David Warner, the batsman, is destructive any day. Let the match begin. Well, Varun, sad news for you. David is not in the playing 11, so we won't be seeing him. Instead, we have Mohammad Nabi. So maybe you can see some destructive batting from him lower down the order. We're all hoping for that. Moving on to the next tweet, Anis Sarjan says, it's the battle between the in-form 2 wicket-keeper batsmen, Sanju Samson or Johnny Bairstow. Who do you think will have the last laugh today? That's a great question, Monty, actually. The 2 wicket-keeper batsmen. And both of them having a very important role in their respective franchises. Johnny Bairstow is the backbone of this batting lineup, I feel, because it's only that the platform Johnny sets at the start that helps Hyderabad to propel to any kind of target. Same goes for Rajasthan. If you get the wicket of Samson early, suddenly you have exposed the whole team, and there's nobody in the middle who's trying to save the game for you. And today, Shivam Dube is not even playing, and David Miller hasn't had, I think, enough game time. So, what do you have to say about the role and the responsibility and the matchup today of Bairstow and Samson?
Yeah, look, I think it's a much easier role for Johnny Bairstow when he comes out to bat. He knows he opens the batting and he knows he'll go one way, which is just hitting boundaries. While Sanju Samson, he will have to bat accordingly to the situation. If they've had a good start, then yeah, he can carry the momentum. If they lose a few wickets, he's the anchor. So that's why they've got to, both sort of. I think Sanju Samson's got the harder task because he's got two roles. He has to consolidate the innings or he has to keep the momentum going. So this is the difficulty that sometimes I think some of the cricket fans don't realise, that how hard it is for Sanju Samson without the overseas players and captaining the team. But with responsibility is a making of certain players. It gets the best out of them, and I really hope that Sanju Samson can marshal his troops. And today, when he comes out to bat, he's going to be the key wicket. They know we get Sanju Samson out early, then yeah, Rajasthan Royals are quite vulnerable. And I'd rather see Sanju Samson not play so aggressively and actually just say, right, just bat. I'm going to bat, and I may even go run a ball, which is fine. But it gives some stability because they can later on catch up. They got Chris Morris there. They got some of the other players. They can catch up. So, I think that role will be better for Rajasthan Royals to get a good innings.
Yes, I love the point that you made, Monty, that there is so much pressure on a young debutant captain, Sanju Samson, because he's missing the best of his players. He has to keep the scoreboard ticking, has to play the role of the aggressor as well in the middle order, comes out to bat when you lose an early wicket. So under pressure there as well, and still taking up that responsibility fairly well. So much more pressure he's under compared to somebody like Johnny Bairstow, who has a free hand when he comes out to open and goes guns blazing. But we all love a Bairstow show. We all love the big Johnny come out and firing those big guns. Love to see Johnny bat at the top. Glad he's back at that original position. But we're going to move to the next segment, Monty, which is the fantasy guide. We at Sports Tiger, we picked out some of the players that we want the audience to be picking in their fantasy 11 that can help them get the maximum number of points. If you see, there's Sanju Samson, who's going to be the vice captain today, Joss Butler, Johnny Bairstow, the two big English opening batsmen, Yashasvi Jaiswal, David Miller, Manish Pandey, Kane Williamson, not only the captain for Hyderabad, the captain for our fantasy 11 as well. Chris Morris, a big-ticket all-rounder, Mustafi Zur, Chetan Sakaria, and Rashid Khan. So what do you feel about this Fantasy 11, Monty? Would you like to make some changes, or are you happy with this?
Well, I'm kind of thinking it's a bit Rajasthan Royal dominant, if you ask me.
We're always rooting for Rajasthan here. Yeah. Interesting stat also coming out there that all of the Royals' top 8 batsmen actually have a higher strike rate against pace compared to that against spin, Monty. So apparently Rajasthan is also a great team against pace than spin. Probably that's why they decided to not even have a spinner in their own lineup. But also that most of the overseas players have scored nearly 65% of the total runs scored by Hyderabad this season. And have only taken just under 50% of all the wickets. So some interesting stats there for the overseas players in Hyderabad. But who is your pick, Monty? If I had to ask you, who do you pick from both the squads as probably the most impact player in today's game, Rajasthan and Hyderabad?
Yeah, I think for me it probably has to be Chris Morris. He'll contribute with the bat and the ball. So yeah, for me, he's the most impactful player. And I think 9 crore is probably the right price for him, not 16.
And from Hyderabad, who's your pick? Like the most impactful?
Yeah, Kane Williamson. I think he's in great form at the moment. He's bowling. He's batting really well. So I think we expect him to have another good day.
Yes, I'm loving the kind of how beautifully he takes up any responsibility that's put on him, be it at number 3, at number 4. He's opened as well. He captains, he marshals the troops, he gives out the right advice. So it's amazing. It's beautiful how he embraces any kind of responsibility that he comes his way, and he always delivers. He always does a good job. But we're going to take a look at the playing 11 that's been finally announced. Josh Butler, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Sanju Samson, Anuj Rawat, David Miller, Riyan Parag, Rahul Tewatia, Chris Morris, Kartik Tyagi, Chetan Sakaria, and Mustafizur Rahman. So new 11 today, some new faces there. But one question for you, Monty: who do you see at number 4 for this squad now? Dubey is not there, so do you see Miller coming up, or will they back somebody like Anuj Rawat there?
Yeah, look, I think I quite like giving responsibility to the Indian players. Every IPL team, they're successful because the young Indian players are taking up that responsibility. So yeah, give Anju Rawat number 4 position, and let's hope that it's a less of a headache for Kumara Sangakkara and thinking, gosh, we've got some Indian domestic players firing for us.
Yeah, but very interesting selection for me, because I often feel that when you've given a player like Shivam so many games already, he's already had so much experience in the game. He also contributes with the ball, and to get suddenly halfway into the tournament somebody new after so many losses under your belt, it's always a tricky situation. But I hope it's one of those good situations like we saw with Punjab giving a game to Harpreet Brar and him turning out to be this absolute phenomena and turning the game around single-handedly for his squad. So hopefully Anuj can have that kind of a contribution and can prove me wrong. If you look at Hyderabad, they're playing 11 for today. Johnny Bairstow, Kane Williamson, Manish Pandey, Abdul Samad finally coming back. So that should really put a smile on a few faces there. Mohammad Nabi, a very interesting selection for today. Kedar Jadhav, Vijay Shankar, Rashid Khan, Sandeep Sharma, Khalil Ahmed, and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Question for you, Monty. There's always been a question about Kane Williamson's batting position in this playing 11. Are you happy with him playing that role of number 4, or do you want to see him back at number 3 and Manish Pandey coming in at 4? What are your thoughts on the batting order for this lineup?
Yeah, look, I quite like Kane Williamson, in the middle order. I think it just I think frees up the batting order. Having 2 overseas, let's say, opening puts a bit too much pressure. You don't want to lose both of them too early. I think a lot of eyes will be on Mohammad Nabi today, because they obviously are back in the spin option.
But do you see Kane at 3 or 4?
I see him at 4. I think 4 is a better position. Manish Pandey maybe opening the batting. Abdul Samad maybe 3. That's not an issue. But I think Kane Williamson at 4 will be good. Mohammad Nabi 5. And what about Ghaznavi Yadav? He's a sort of, no one really talking about him, and Vijay Shankar. Both of them are sort of kind of hidden. Really, they need to just show up a little bit and start taking Hyderabad to the winning line. So I think that sort of it's, you can see a huge collapse there, can't you? Because none of them are in great form, and Manish Pandey is so much responsibility on him. Johnny Bairstow's got to have a good start. Ghaznavi Yadav, again, he hasn't had the best of tournaments. And then Sandeep Sharma, from a bowling perspective, needs to bowl well in the power play. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think, moves it the most at the moment in the IPL. So that's that's good there. So there's a lot of question marks in this team. While you look at Rajasthan Royals, it just looks a bit more. Roles are a bit more now clearer in this team, and with them sort of Hyderabad looking to bowl first. We probably need to see them have a good day in the field, and Kane Williamson, marshal the troops really well.
That's a very interesting point, Monty, that the roles seem to be more defined in Rajasthan's lineup compared to Hyderabad, because we still don't know the positions at which these players usually will bat at, the kind of contribution they'll have in their respective roles. We talk about Kedar Jadhav, what kind of a role does he play, and Vijay Shankar, who's not been performing, where does he go? Is Kane Williamson at 3 or 4, or does Manish Pandey stay at 3? Because today you don't have a David Warner. So since you don't have a David Warner, I really hope that Kane Williamson doesn't come out and open. Because that's going to further complicate things for Hyderabad. So a lot of question marks, and considering the strange sort of calls that they've taken this entire season and the strange selections they've made, I hope they don't mess up this batting order, because I'm still a bit concerned about where Kane Williamson ends up playing. I'm happy to see him at 4. He did a really good job in the previous game. But if he ends up opening today, oh Lord, save them again. But talking about the match final predictions, Monty, we've seen that Kane Williamson as a captain has won 3 out of 4 matches against Rajasthan in this IPL. In fact, with the bat, Kane averages almost about 50 against Rajasthan in IPL. So your predictions for this game with Kane Williamson as captain for the first time in this tournament?
Yeah, look, both of their teams are very close. It's like the bottom of the table clash, really, isn't it? And it would very much depend on the intent from Rajasthan Royals. You know, do they go off the front foot and they say, right, we're going to get a good total? Because I think Kane Williamson will captain the team well. You know, we've seen him, you know, perform well with the bat, and then he's a calm customer there. So it looks, they tend to say, you know, in the IPL, we've always seen the team that wins a toss and field first tends to go more chance of winning. So very much depends on Rajasthan Royals. If they show that, like I said, the intent, then we may see Rajasthan Royals. But I think I'm just a little bit unsure here. You know, normally it's a clear winner. I'm just not sure. I don't know. I think it really, it just, there's so many factors and you just don't know the answers to them. So I would go with Sunrisers Hyderabad because of Kane Williamson's captaincy.
I understand, Monty. Probably I'm on the same boat, but even I feel that maybe Hyderabad has a slight edge with Kane captaining and Bhuvneshwar coming back. So we might just see things turning around. But you never know. Rajasthan seems a little more sorted, so they might just come and surprise you in the end. Any predictions for the man of the match? Who do you think could be winning the man of the match? Any predictions there?
Gosh, it's a good question. I think Rashid Khan could be one of them. I've got a funny feeling Mohammad Nabi may just have a good game. He could be one of them. Chris Morris, he has to be in there because of the price tag. He needs to perform. So, you know, I'm sure he'll be in there. So it's a difficult one. You know, there's so much. This is a very difficult game to predict. You just don't know how it's going to go. And they're so similar as well. They're very, you know, very like, it'll be a good game, whatever the outcome.
Yes, definitely good game. And I'd also like to see Rashid Khan win the man of the match, because he gives such amazing performances. He contributes so much, but he often doesn't end up winning that award. We don't see Rashid winning a man of the match award very often. So I think he deserves it more than anything else with the kind of contribution he always has towards his team. So yeah, hope Rashid has a great day and Kane Williamson gets his first success as captain. But you never know. It's going to be a tight game. Like you said, we both were a little confused about our predictions. So hopefully we're in for another cliffhanger like last night. And thanks, Monty, for joining me in this segment. It was a fun discussion. And for all the viewers as well, thank you so much for tuning into Sports Tiger. This was the pre-match show. Today's a Sunday blockbuster, a double header. First game coming up just in a few seconds. It's going to be Hyderabad versus Rajasthan. Stay tuned in. We're going to catch you again in the first 10 overs. Thanks.